Hello and welcome back to J.P.'s World of Wrestling. I am your man, J.P. Okay, so today what I'm going to do is I'm doing two back-to-back videos, and they are going to be top 5 lists. That's right, people seem to like my top 5 lists. Now, wrestling figure matches are coming back. Yes, they are indeed. I'm going to record those probably sometime next week. But in the meantime, let's have a little fun with some top 5 action or whatever. Okay, okay. So the first top 5 list I'm going to do for you, actually on this video. Then next video I'm going to do the second top 5 list that I have for you. But the first top 5 lists are my personal top 5 gimmicks that should not have worked but somehow did. And these are gimmicks that I liked, and for whatever reason they worked out. So I'm going to start with number 5, and that is the 1, 2, 3 kid. Yep, portrayed by Sean Waltman, who obviously became the 1-2-3 kid. When he went to WCW, he became part of the NWO and was known as Six, spelled SYXX. But then he came back to the WWF and he was known as X-Pac as part of D-Generation X. But the 1-2-3 kid, so he came in and like in 1993, and every week he would have kind of a different name, like the Kid, or the Lightning Kid, or the Cannonball Kid. It was some sort of kid. Until one night before the show, Razor Ramon went to Vince or whoever was in charge and said, "Hey, what if the kid beat me tonight?" Because I guess backstage, the 1-2-3 kid and Razor had kind of become friends, and Razor kind of took to him. So he wanted to help him out. So he's like, what if this kid beat me tonight? And so Vince or whoever was in charge of that said, "Hey, that's a pretty good idea. Let's try it." So that night on Monday Night Raw, the 1-2-3 kid did a moonsault off the top rope, landed on Razor, got the 1-2-3, and hightailed it out. That night I think he was known as like the Lightning Kid or whatever. I don't know, but so then for weeks after that, Razor Ramon kept challenging the kid, saying, "Hey man, I want you to get back in the ring with me. I'll give you X amount of money if you get back in the ring with me." So for weeks, the kid said, "No, no, I beat you. I don't need to do it again." So finally, Razor offered up, I think, $10,000 or whatever. And so finally, the kid said, "Okay, sure, yeah, for that kind of money, I'll get in the ring with you." So I think, from as I recall, the kid beat him again. And so from that point on, they became friends. And they were friends on and off screen, but that kind of launched the 1-2-3 kid's career. That kind of launched Sean Waltman's career into new heights. And so it worked out for him. So number 4, I'm going with IRS. Irwin R. Shyster. He was a taxman turned wrestler, and the gimmick itself was kind of cheesy if you think about it, but for whatever reason it worked. I think it was because Mike Rotunda, the guy that portrayed IRS, was a great wrestler and a great performer, and he made it work. He wasn't, so serious that he had to be just Mike Rotunda. No, he was like, "Sure, I'll do this gimmick." And it worked. It worked in spades. And I will still remember when he was tag team partners with the $1 Million Man, and they were Money Incorporated, and that was a great team. That was a great heel tag team. And I think the biggest thing that made them notorious was when they were started to get beat and they were in a tough spot, they would just take their tag belts and run, get a count out loss, but they would still keep the titles. And so, that went on until finally, Jack Tunney, the WWF president, said, "No, you can't do that anymore. Next time you do that, not only will you lose the match, but you'll lose the title." So at that point, they had to wrestle the match. But no, IRS himself, he would come in and call everybody tax cheats, and he's like, "Oh, everybody must pay their taxes." And I remember one time he was in a gimmick with Tatanka, or a feud with Tatanka, where he stole Tatanka's headdress. And he's like, "Oh, you haven't paid your taxes. Pay your taxes on this, and I'll give it back." Blah, 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 blah. So they had a match on Raw, and Tatanka won the match and won back his headdress. Yep. And so I think there's also a a, a thing where IRS kind of showed up at a cemetery, and he took the headstone of a dead guy because the dead guy didn't pay his taxes. Like, ooh, man, that's pretty stiff. That's, what a dastardly thing to do. But that's what made him a great heel. And that's what made him so hateable as a heel. And that's what made it work. So he comes in with me at number 4. So number 3 is Doink the Clown. That's right. Doink the Clown, first portrayed by Matt Bourne. He was kind of this evil circus clown that would, play dirty tricks on kids. Like, he would pour water on them at ringside. He would, do things to, the good guys at ringside, play tricks on them, little jokes and stuff, spray water in their face with a flower or whatever. And, but I think the thing that made it work was the fact that he was so evil. And he just had this evil presence about him, and the fact that he was a great wrestler. He was a great in-ring wrestler, so I think that's kind of what made it work. Plus, Matt Bourne put all of his energy into this character. And at first, he didn't want to do it. He's like, "A clown? What are you talking about? I don't want to be a clown." But then they explained it to him. No, 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 you're this evil clown. You're an evil clown that goes to ringside and plays tricks on kids and, takes the cheap way out. And, you're going to be this evil clown character. He's like, "Oh, well, yeah, I can do that." So it worked. But at some point, Matt Bourne left the WWF. I think he was fired for whatever reason, for various reasons, I think. But so then various guys after that portrayed Doink the Clown. Steve Kern, also known as Skinner, portrayed Doink the Clown, and also Ray Apollo portrayed Doink the Clown. And I think Ray Apollo still appears as Doink various places even today. So anyway, Doink the Clown is numero tres. Okay. Okay, so number 2 was one that I think worked because he had a notorious debut, and it was a WCW character, but it's the Shockmaster. Now, the Shockmaster was so cheesy that they had this voice over, "I'm the Shockmaster," and he had this sparkly helmet that was a stormtrooper helmet that they painted sparkly white or silver. But he had a notorious debut because he was on the Ric Flair talk show segment, and as he busted through the wall, his helmet came off, revealing that it was actually Typhoon, also known as Tugboat. And so he kind of got a bad rap for that debut, but if you hear him explain it in shoot interviews, it actually made sense how it turned out. Like, it was supposed to be kind of a gimmick wall, but it wasn't. It was just like an actual, like, sheetrock wall with this 2x4 in the middle that he was supposed to bust through. But whoever was working WCW in whatever department, gimmick department or whatever, I don't know, but they were supposed to have the wall so that he could bust through easily. But because there was that 2x4, he kind of busted through it and yet tripped over that 2x4 that was like waist level. So it really wasn't his fault that it didn't work out very well. But at that point, after that, they sort of portrayed him as sort of like a, I don't know, kind of like a construction worker, where he would come to the ring with a sleeveless flannel and a I don't know, one of those helmets that construction workers wear, a safety helmet, and But whatever, that because of that notorious debut, people still love the Shockmaster, and he appears even today at an autograph signing, and he'll bring his Shockmaster helmet. He'll sign, Typhoon, Tugboat, Shockmaster, whatever. People will bring action figures with him or T-shirts, and he'll sign it whatever you want, even Shockmaster. So that gimmick worked, even though it shouldn't have. Now, number one was a heel gimmick that, for whatever reason, I just got a kick out of, and for whatever reason, I think that it worked. Number one is the Mountie. I am the Mountie! Now, the Mountie should have been kind of cheesy, and it kind of was, because he had that shock stick. It was like a cattle prod that was painted red and yellow, and he would shock people, and they would pipe in that noise. Kind of cheesy, but he made it work. Portrayed by Jacques Rougeau of the Rougeau brothers, but they brought him back as the Mountie, managed by Jimmy Hart, and he was so good at being bad that they had to kind of change the gimmick, because actual Mounties, actual Canadian Mounted Police, were complaining. Were calling the WWF, writing letters to the WWF complaining, like, this is not how the Canadian Mounted Police act. This is not how we conduct ourselves. We're not cruel to people. We don't shock people with shock sticks. We don't portray, please stop portraying this character in this way. So WWF had to say, okay. So they brought in a tag team partner for the Mountie, and they were just called the Quebecers, because they hailed from Quebec, Canada. And it was Jacques and Pierre, the Quebecers, and they were managed by Johnny Polo, also known as Raven. Actually, in Portland wrestling, he was known as Scotty the Body. But he came to the WWF as a manager, as just Johnny Polo. Then he went to ECW and WCW as Raven. But this is about the Mountie. The Mountie, they ditched the Mountie name. They called him just Jacques. Brought him a tag team partner called Pierre. And they were just the Quebecers. And they were a tag team. And I think they were 2-time tag team champions or something. And they were kind of like Money Incorporated, where every time it appeared as if they were going to lose, they just took the belts and just left the ring and took a count out loss. Because they're heels. That's what heels do. They make you hate them. So that is my top 5 list of top 5 gimmicks that should not have worked, but somehow did. So that is going to do it for this video. I hope you liked it. So join me next time, where I'm going to give you another top 5 list. My next list is going to be the top 5 Hasbros that I am currently seeking. These are the top 5 guys that I would like and that I'm going to collect at some point. So, if you're new here, go ahead and click the like button, click the subscribe button, and I will see you next time.